The CEO of Juul e-cigarettes issued a half-hearted apology to parents whose teens became addicted to nicotine thanks to his company's products. But the truth is that just like tobacco, this was all part of the plan. Joining me to talk about this is Farron Cousins, who just finished an incredible cover story for the National Trial Lawyer magazine. You've been following this a long time. Farron, the first thing that comes to my mind, as you know, our law firm handled the tobacco litigation. We wrote the first legislation about it that was used all over the country. So we know these cats pretty well. It's a bad bunch of cats, I guess. Give me your take on these people that are showing up with illnesses and a couple of deaths already.
Yeah, just in the last week or so, we have seen, I think, 193 different people across 22 different states. One of them in Illinois, a man is dead now. And it's because of some kind of mysterious vaping-related, they believe, disease. But the reason we start by saying that is because now we got to go back and talk about what's going on with vaping. And on the federal level, from the federal government, the answer is really not much at all. There are few regulations, if any, on what can be in these vaping liquids, what goes in there, what people are consuming, how much nicotine it can have. And now, after we've been warning for years about the lack of regulations, now we're starting to see the consequences, and they have piled up in the last week.
Yeah, let me back up. We started doing this story 3 or 4 years ago. Right. As soon as it came on the market, we said, look, here are the problems. And then the problem is you have this cult. I don't know how to, it's like this cult.
It really is.
I call it, it's just so weird. We do a story, we say, look, God bless you if you want to vape. I don't care, but you need to know what the problems are. And the problems are, it's not just the nicotine. It's all the other chemicals that are included in that liquid that you're vaping. Yeah. It's the fact that your body has no magnitude response. In other words, if you're smoking a cigarette, you smoke too much, you get respiratory issues, you get the lightheadedness coming on. Not with vaping, because it's coming in your system so bad. So here's the point. I know doing this story, all these people are going to come out. How dare you talk about vaping? Because it is a cult. I swear it is a cult. And that's the way they've built this, isn't it? They built it with kids primarily.
It is. It's become its own little subculture here in the United States. They have vaping competitions. They have conventions. And, of course, these conventions are sponsored by the vaping companies. You have people out there who swear that vaping has saved their life because it got them off regular cigarettes.
Wow.
But at the same time, they're saying, well, you guys attacking vapes, you're doing Big Tobacco's job. But the truth is, a lot of these big tobacco companies, including Juul, they've bought shares of these companies. No, you vapors, you are doing Big Tobacco's job because they own these products as well.
Big Tobacco owns them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you get to the point where you can't objectively listen to a story, Big Tobacco owns you. We saw, look, it crosses generation. Happened to the baby boomers when we first started the tobacco litigation. We were the villain because we uncovered all these documents that showed that they had hired doctors to tell the lie. They created literature that told the lie. They phonied up epidemiology to tell the lie. Same things happen here. So that was baby boomer generation. Okay, now you've got young baby boomers and millennials that are part of the cult, and nothing's different. They want to say, we're different than mom and dad. We're clear thinkers. We certainly can see it. All you got to do is look at the science here, okay? Yeah. You look at the chemicals that are included in there. How about this? What about the fact that in different parts of the country, you have independent vaping companies that mix their own chemicals? Talk about that.
Right. See, and that's a big part of the problem. And this could be what's linked to all these vaping illnesses we see. And before you and I talked here, I spent a good amount of time today going through the FDA's regulation website for tobacco and e-liquid and e-cigarettes and vapes and all that. There was not a single thing I could find going through their website on regulations about any form of federal regulation on what can or cannot go into these vaping liquids. So these people who are out there independently mixing these, you walk into one of those vape shops that pops up on the corner every 5 months these days, they're mixing them in-house. So you're putting your life, your lungs in the hand of some random person behind a counter who says, oh, let me give you, this will taste good.
Yeah.
But there's heavy metals, there's diacetyl. We know that there are cancer-causing compounds as well. And whatever else this person you don't know is sticking into that liquid that you then heat to 400 or 500 degrees in a matter of, milliseconds and put it into your lungs. And people are out there swearing, yelling at us, telling us that this is the safest thing in the world.
What it is, it's self-actualization. They want to believe it, therefore they won't. It's like talking to a Republican about a bad policy. No, I'm a Republican. It's tribal, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
It's almost cult-like. You see with Democrats, you see with Republicans. We're in that right now. I see the same thing happening here. Look, here's the point. Got about 30 seconds left. They got Ollie Ollie Orange. They've got bubble gum. They've got all these kids' tastes, trying to go after the kids. They've even marketed them where they put them on the shelf to go after children. The type of marketing they do is colors. It's all going after children. But really, it's not just the kids that go so crazy when we talk about this case.
Right.
It is adults who should have enough sense to be able to think for themselves rather than having the industry think for them. And apparently that's what happens here.
Well, and the bottom line is this. If this is what you're choosing to do, fantastic.
Yeah.
You do that. That is your choice. You have the right to do that. But don't try to convince yourself or convince other people that we know these things are safe. All the science that has been coming out in the short decade these things have been available has not been flattering for vapes.
This story, I'll tell you, but we're going to see it with this story. How dare we talk about the fact that the stuff's dangerous?
And eventually the documents will come out, too, and it'll show everything
We'll
we say.
be in trial with the documents. The past couple of years of media coverage have been riddled with stories of survivors sharing their stories of sexual abuse, from Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein to disgraced physician Larry Nassar to the horrific allegations against the late financier guy Jeffrey Epstein, who we see all the time.
Yes.
Look, this story now continues with the military.
Right.
I mean, that's the other new part of it, isn't it? The military.
Yes.
Talk to me about it. How bad the Me Too element has fit into this finally. We're talking about this finally. And tell me how bad it is.
It's bad. I think it's been an ongoing problem for decades, Pap. Everyone's known about it. The Department of Defense has certainly known about it. All branches of the military are impacted by sexual assault, sexual harassment, and also played with the problem of really not being able to find an effective way to grapple with it and deal with it. They see the impact when they finally do have people come forward and report at the VA's office or within military ranks when they're suffering from PTSD or other problems. But it is such a pervasive issue now. As far as the exact number, they don't exactly know because they believe a lot of these cases are underreported. But the Department of Defense did an anonymous survey, and they sent it out to all branches of the military. And for 2018, based on that anonymous survey, the results were 20,500 cases of reported sexual either assault or some sort of but it was the majority of some sort of sexual assault. And so the majority they found that was, and it's not just women, one of the least talked about parts of this is men on men sexual assault, which is an added degree of shame and humiliation, if you will, for the victim as to not come forward. But they did find in this latest survey that among the most vulnerable were women, 17 to 24, because most of what they found is that these women were being attacked by people that they already knew, either superior officers or people that they were already in close contact with. And that's what they're learning, at least even though these results are anonymous, they can at least say, okay, at least they feel comfortable in this environment reporting. It's giving us an idea of what is happening, when this is occurring, how they can deal with it. So they know the problem exists. It's just been a hard time getting a change in the culture to where they feel comfortable reporting it, because sometimes when they report it, nothing happens.
Doesn't part of it have to change with women becoming, with them treating women as equally as they can, both in rank and things like special ops?
Yes.
There are plenty of women that, I've known in my lifetime that could sit in and be part of special op kind of training. And the more that they're centered in these various things, whether it's ranking, whether it's special operations, those types of things, then this does it does affect the amount of abuse that we're seeing. But I'm really wondering what's fueling this problem. It's been we're talking about it now, but it's been around a long time. We did the tailhook stories.
Yes.
I think you did it when you were an anchor, a news anchor. Yes. The tailhook stories started then. We started taking a look at it. But what's fueling it now?
I think it's a culture of silence like you see in a lot of institutions, but what makes the military perhaps even more vulnerable to this is, like you said, that, historically, forever, we haven't really had women necessarily in the ranks to this extent that we've seen in the last few decades. But aside from that, the very way that it's put together, you have unit cohesion, and almost like officers in a law enforcement unit. It's your partner, but extend that wider out to all the people that are in your unit. And if someone does something to you and you tell on them, even if it was a crime like a sexual assault or a rape or some sort of assault, if you tell on that person, especially if it's a superior officer, then there's this general feeling that you have betrayed the ranks. You're no longer somebody that we can trust. And it's almost like it takes out the poison. You're labeled with the baby in the bathwater. Throw out the person who's complaining as opposed to dealing with the problem and the source of it.
I saw handling on this on something that I read not long ago where it was talking about the Israeli military, where everybody's required to be in the military. It's a requirement.
Yes.
And the assimilation of females into the military hasn't been totally seamless, but it's been a lot more seamless than what we're seeing here in the United States because there's no distinctions. In other words, if somebody wants to work with Mossad, if they want to work at the highest ranks of military engagement and special operations, and I mean, there's no holdback. There's opportunity across the board.
Right.
I think of that. It was an old movie. It's called G.I. Jane, something such as that.
Yes, I remember that.
And they were trying to talk about this idea that we have to equalize that part of the military before we ever start treating women like they should be treated in the military. But when I look at the Israeli experience and I look at what's happening here in the United States, it's different.
And other studies they've done in other countries where they talk about basically putting men and women together in the military, they found that the better the integration, the fewer reported incidents of sexual assault. Because like you're talking about, I think it goes to that idea of you're treating somebody like an equal, or maybe even going back to the idea of a healthy unit. If you're all working together, when you know somebody, you're less inclined to believe stereotypes about them, or you're less inclined to lump them into you're a less than category.
Right.
So they found that they think that that's part of it. But part of it, too, is just getting in there and feeling like you're not, that you've got some rights, making it easy to report, making it easier to investigate. And then you have a whole nother element, which is a whole nother topic, about military law and how that helps keep a lot of these cases from coming to light as well.
Let's pick up with that another time. Molly, thank you for joining me, okay?
Thanks, Pat.